Welcome to another episode of EntrepreNous. I am your host, Ashley, and here today I have my co-hosts with me, Rawad and Lee. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Hey, great to be here. Thank you.
Hey, Ashley, doing good. Thank you.
Hey, good. Good to see you both. And with us today, we have our spotlight guest, and that is Otto. Welcome, Otto.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So today, what we wanted to talk about is Otto's journey and his goal of entrepreneurship and the skills and experience that he has cultivated over these last several years to get where he's going. We're also going to talk about his plan and have a really good conversation in between. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So Otto, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, and maybe a little bit about your history of how you got where you're at right now.
All right. Well, I guess in a very brief summary to start things off, I'm originally from Finland, and then I started to travel around the world. Eventually, a road led me to here in autonomy, and I started to think about what I really want, what is my purpose. And I always wanted to become an entrepreneur. And then my core reason for joining autonomy was that I felt like it has become time now to move towards that direction. And I was looking for that community and that support network and the knowledge that I needed to fill myself with to be able to do that. So it's been now, I think, like 15 months or so after my graduation. So I think like 1.5 years in autonomy. And I'm gearing up to launch my business and to get going. Like it's been a lot of groundwork and preparing. So that's very short overall timeline.
Right, great. Well, and I do want to kind of wait just a bit before we talk about what your business is going to be, but I wanted to talk about a couple things first. So why don't you tell us how you originally came to find autonomy?
Well, that's actually, it was kind of a random thing. In back of my mind, I felt like I needed something like autonomy. And I was just thinking that I'm gonna come across it eventually. And maybe it took like 6 months, and I wasn't really even putting any effort into it because I was just like, I'm not sure where to look. Like maybe I'll try to look something, but nothing really comes up that I would gravitate towards. But then I was going to Mark Passio's website one day and then noticed that there was the banner ad for autonomy and clicked that without understanding what it was. And then immediately I was kind of, okay, well, this seems like a promising thing, something that I've been looking for. And yeah, I just kind of jumped on board immediately, although it took me some time to actually join, but I decided pretty quickly that this is something I'm going to be doing.
Awesome. So you found autonomy through Passio, and I think we can circle back to that point that you felt like you needed something, but you didn't know what that was exactly, and sort of how that came about for you. And we can tie that in with some of your work currently in the autonomy community with the New Moon Intentions. Um, so you were already in the Liberty community. I mean, is that fair to say that you were, kind of questioning government competency or,
Mm.
what was your, kind of what got you into the Liberty community or Mark Passio's work, basically?
Well, that's like that would go much longer back in timeline in my history, like how I kind of started to become curious and reading about things. But I kind of never felt like I was part of any community, and I have never been really part of social media either. I have been very selective on the communities I join and be part of in the past. And I've always felt like I wanted to be around like-minded people who share the same values and mindset. but then it's just like how to find that. And I just, yeah, it was just something always kind of on the back burner of, and I think it wasn't until autonomy that I actually joined a community that is full of people who share the same values and think in the same ways. So I don't know if should I go back then to maybe cover a bit about how I started to maybe think about things differently, because that's also like very interesting, I guess, especially for people in the US, because I started to mainly follow people from US and the kind of the whatever was happening in US through the alternative media. And growing up in Finland, I have thought about it sometimes there's like some differences which my understanding is that in US, like there's a lot of diversity of thought. Like when you grow up in US, at least you are aware of that there's certain groups, perhaps religious groups, political groups, there's all sort of viewpoints and understandings and ways to view life. But when you grow up in Finland as a child, you are kind of brought into another type of world where everything's more or less the same. So it's a lot more like this socialist country in that regard, that the media, everything around you, family, school, everything kind of is telling the same story, and it wasn't really apparent that there's an alternative way to view at the world. So when I eventually started to through internet and get exposure to some alternative viewpoints, especially like the US with the gun rights and libertarianism and the kind of the freedom angle, then that was like a fresh air coming to my direction that I found very interesting thoughts, and they were very much in conflict with the worldview that I had when I was growing up in Finland. But I was kind of keeping those two things separate, just thinking that they are two different countries. I very much didn't think like, or I was kind of in favor of the Finnish way of doing things, but I was very curious, and I was just kind of taking notes and reading and looking into things, and that's how I kind of got started on this educational journey, I guess. And then the turning point for me was one evening. This was all the way back in university when I was just looking for something documentary, something interesting to educate myself on and to pass some time. I wasn't really reading any books at this point, but then I came across an essay by Mari Rothbard on YouTube as an audiobook, the Anatomy of the State. And then that essay, I didn't know what it was. I had no clue, but I just clicked it for some reason. And then that really fueled some thoughts in my head, like mostly about just how effectively he was writing and his writing style. So I think it was the first time I got exposed to some sort of like logical reasoning, like really powerful words, like where I think he writes in a way that there's nothing extra. He just gives point after point after point, and that's not what I'm used to reading school books. so I think that was very impressive to me. But then at that point, I realized that actually I don't know too much about anything, even though I was studying in university. So it was kind of at this moment where I thought to myself that I had to face my own ignorance, that I'm pretty ignorant about the whole world and all these concepts that I know nothing about. And at that point, that was kind of a turning point for me, because I decided that I'm going to be educating myself, and I actually got back the curiosity of learning. And from that point on, I wanted to start reading books, because I thought if other books are as great as this one, then for sure I'm going to be reading more.
I really love that story, and I like the way that you phrased it. You said the turning point for me. And I feel like that is a really pivotal part of not only the entrepreneurial journey, because it's starting a change in your mindset. And sometimes that can be really uncomfortable, but it's such an important moment. So did you experience discomfort or cognitive dissonance, as we may call it? And did it cause personal conflict for you? Because as you said, you were sort of living in this, like the socialist sort of homogenized culture where people were, they were okay with that lifestyle. And then you are starting to, really educate yourself and have a different thought process surrounding that. And it can be earth shattering, it can be uncomfortable, and it can cause personal conflict. So I'm curious if you experienced that, and was that part of the reason that you decided to move from Finland?
Mm, that wasn't really part of this. Well, maybe a little bit, but I would say not really. But yeah, there definitely was, like, throughout years that I have started to recognize what is the cognitive dissonance, and I have faced it multiple times, so I know what it is, and now I can identify it, and I kind of embrace it whenever it happens. And but yeah, personally, like, yeah, it was just, I was just kind of reading about things. I wasn't that vocal, or things of with my friends. I was telling them about many things, including Ron Paul. I was following Ron Paul. I was like, this is the first politician I ever heard that would speak the truth or say something meaningful. So that was 2012. So I was kind of having these discussions, but of course, most people and my friends didn't really get me, didn't understand, and neither did they understand why did I want to read books, um, whenever I would brought that up. Because I guess it just seems like it's a wasted effort. Like, why would you read if it's not part of your education, if it's not part of your career? Like, why would you spend time reading about some random topic if it doesn't directly, like, benefit you? I think that's what a lot of people think. And of course, I guess I would agree on that point, but I was just interested. I was just curious. I just wanted to learn more and understand the world better.
Yeah, so did that cause conflict with your friends, or you just were in a sort of like, we'll just agree to disagree? I just am interested in this.
Yeah, there wasn't any conflict. I guess I was younger, so I was more like ready to debate and talk about things. Right now, I'm like, I don't want to debate. I don't want to discuss things. I can't discuss things, but if I notice that the other side is going to some sort of emotional state, then I stop, because I don't. It doesn't help anyone. But yeah, back then I was more like really like trying to bring some ideas forward, and I guess being a bit challenging. Like, not, I'm not finding the word, but like, yeah, being in your face about maybe some things with sometimes. So maybe sometimes a bit
Yeah.
annoying.
Hey, maybe we all have that on our liberty journey. I certainly was more aggressive at a time about my own personal opinions, especially if the discussion of the police got involved. I could get very emotional about that. But after time, I found that I feel, a lot more emotionally detached, and just, I'm not going to change your mind, basically, and I'm not going to waste my time arguing with you about it. If you don't see it, that's, sorry for you. Um, okay, so you were in university. So what was your traditional education in?
Yeah, so yeah, I was just advancing in the educational ladder because I didn't know what I wanted. So I was just taking the easy choice, just go to the next school, whatever that was. And when I got all the way to deciding about the university thing, I still didn't know what I want. So I was kind of just randomly, more or less, just picking a place. And I actually decided to pick a place that was outside of my hometown or home city, because I thought I need to challenge myself. I need to move out of my parents' house and at least the stats. And then I was good in math, so I started to study environmental engineering, and eventually graduated from there as a Master of Science. But halfway through that, I realized that that's not even what I want, but I was still kind of torturing myself through it and getting that user's paper that I still haven't used.
Okay, so is it fair to say that you never ended up using your degree, really?
No, I never used it. When I graduated, I was broke, so I was looking for work uh, because I need money, but I couldn't find any work at that time. And around that time, I was also so around the university time, I started to realize. So this was kind of after this, going back to the turning point that we talked earlier. Maybe like fast forward at least 1 year from that, then I actually started to realize what I want from life or what I want to do, and that was to be a digital nomad and travel around the world. So that became my goal, and it took me many years to get there. And even after graduating, I was still trying to get there. But at the same time, I was like, okay, well, I have this paper now, so why don't I try to get some work so I could save some money and maybe, I don't know, just do some traveling. But I didn't manage to do that. Maybe because my heart wasn't in it, because I knew that's not what I wanted, and maybe because I had limited people skills and social skills, so that also made it harder for me to land any job. Because yeah, like I had some summer job experience, but I had no real work experience. I had no practical skills. So all I had was the paper, and that's not, you don't really, they don't really teach you much with that. That's what I realized.
So was it right after college that you decided that you wanted to do the digital nomad life and you went on your journey of starting to travel?
Yeah, it was like around university time. So when I was at the university, I I came to that conclusion and decision that's gonna be my goal, and it like gave me that motivation boost. Like now there was something in my life to aim for, because before that I was kind of aimlessly just doing whatever, like going to school and studying, and then not really sure what the future holds for me. Although I think earlier than that I did start to develop the anti, or the thing that I definitely didn't want, which maybe answers part of the question why I don't live in Finland. But that was that I don't want to live the normal 9 to 5 life where I get stuck in a city, especially in Finland, where it's just like this comfort, all this comfort is around me. So I just wanted to not go down that path that I guess most people go, and to all the way to the retirement, and then they're kind of stuck and unhappy. So I just wanted to find a path to maximize my flexibility and freedom, which I saw as the being that, like, if I can earn money online, then I should have all the freedom I need, and maybe I find some great place to live down the line. That was my thought.
So, yeah, so tell us about your decision of, or, a little bit about your experience of traveling, but your decision to ultimately say, I'm not going back to Finland. I'm going to live somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that decision was kind of, I had that for a long time. I think I was following Jeff Berwick and his Anarchast and his interviews, and they were really inspirational for me. And there were a lot of entrepreneurs there and a lot of digital nomads and people who just spent time traveling for a long time. So I think that really inspired me. So I guess, I don't feel like I have any need to be in any specific country. Like now I'm in Bulgaria, but I don't know, I could move away from here. Like it, I think some people are really tied to, like, they need to have some sort of stability, but I don't know. That's not the case with me per se. And yeah, so I just wanted to travel. That was the thing. Like immediately when I landed work online, I just packed my things and with the one-way ticket went to Thailand and started to travel in Asia. And that's what I did for like 6 years or so, just kind of traveling here and there. I was returning to Finland, staying there for a month or two, then continuing again. And I didn't have any long-term place to stay. I was mostly using Airbnbs, and I was staying a lot in hostels to save money. And that was my lifestyle. So I was just working, traveling with my laptop and going around the world.
Yeah. So what was the job that you were able to get that allowed you to travel like you were? Digital job.
Yeah, so I started to develop skills. Like initially I thought I would become a graphic designer, that just self-taught myself. So I still, those skills are, by the way, pretty useful. I'm still using them. So, but then yeah, I got interested in crypto, and I was interested in investing and gold, and well, I had a lot of interest, but I was joining this one community, and I was just part of it because I found it super interesting. I didn't expect anything to come out of it. But then I think I was just helping them here and there with few things, and I guess that's, I found out, like I now know, like that's pretty rare, I guess, which is pretty surprising because I was totally broke and had no work. I was looking for work, and I would thought like everyone is hungry to find work, but apparently that's not really the case. So I was just doing some little help within this community, and then at one point they offered me a part-time position as a community manager, which is then when I started travel. So that's how it got started. So I kind of got involved in the field of marketing, and over the years I did many things, from newsletter marketing to like doing some live streams and some other content, managing the community. So that kind of set me on that path, and I'm still doing that, the same thing today, but now I'm looking to also kind of think about, well, what is my business and how does my skill translate, that I could launch my own thing and become an entrepreneur instead of just working for others.
Yeah, I really like that. And I definitely want to get into what is your business that you want to launch. But I also would like to note the fact that, it is something that is talked about in autonomy a lot, that you learned these high value skills yourself. It was not from a university that you learned the skills that you took to be able to travel the world and really make your own path for yourself. So I think that that's really interesting, and because a lot of people still have the idea, or perhaps the misnomer, that you have to have some sort of official degree in order to do what you're going to do. And I think that so many people that we talk to and hear, Lee, you prove that you do not have, that's not the case. So before we move on, I wanted to throw it over to Rawad and Lee and see if they have any other questions as well.
It's funny because I live in Finland, so I can really identify very well what you're talking about with everything here is by the book, and a lot of people here do, because everything's by the book, people tend to go through the motions of doing things, and so yeah, outside ideas and thinking definitely clash here for folks, and and I'd like to speak about Finland as just a different culture. I didn't grow up here. I'm not from here, but parts of it I've come to really embrace and enjoy. but yeah, I can really, I've met a lot of lovely young Finnish people who have fled the country because they can't, for the exact same reasons that you have, you know, they just can't fit here, and they have too much exposure to other kinds of thinking, or they're just so different themselves. And also people here have tended to have trouble interfacing with other people. It's really interesting that there are some people here who just don't have a lot of experience dealing with other people. So somebody like me can be quite jarring because I'm quite outgoing compared to a lot of the Finnish people here. You know, Finnish people do not emote the way a lot of other folks do. So yeah, hearing your story, I had a feeling that you know, that was kind of behind what made you leave, because it certainly fits in with the same patterns of the other young people I've met here. So based on all of that, what when you look back on your experience with Finland, do you think you could ever come back to a place like this? I know this isn't quite the EntrepreNous thing, but I just wanted to ask that question.
That's of course possible, and I would agree. Like I guess everyone should live at least for a short period somewhere else where they grew up, and it's very like refreshing. So I understand like why you're in Finland, you're enjoying it because it's different for you. So a different where you grew up.
Yeah.
Like yeah, in Finland, like well, there's of course there's the weather, that there's lack of sunlight in the wintertime, which I have realized is really important for me. This is like one of the cons I have. But then also like I don't know, I'm not too confident in where the Finland is heading. And I guess that goes to a lot of other countries, especially the Nordic countries. So I'm just kind of looking at the long-term horizon, and I'm just not that like maybe after it all collapses, I will come to rebuild it or help. But it doesn't look too good to me, so I don't know. I
Yeah,
will
I
stay
think you're
here for
right.
now.
Well done. Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Yeah, Otto, thank you for sharing. When you're telling your journey, and I had to think of Lebanon, like talking about first world country and fourth or fifth world country. And when I left, I went and visited Tripoli. It's a city in Lebanon. And what I saw there made me realize that there's no hope. There's no hope in this country. But hearing, because of poverty and how this can be taken advantage of by authority, and you just need to be rich to take advantage of something like that. But in your case, it's the opposite, but it still guided you towards leaving the country. I found it fascinating, and I think what you shared makes someone realize you don't need tyranny or poverty to seek freedom, right? Or even to have this Truman Show world built around you to keep you stuck. And that's what when you were telling your story, that's I had in mind all the time, and I was smiling. I had to think of Truman Show, and when your friends are trying to like, why are you even going there? Like they're trying to keep you in, right? It's like, I think, I don't recall the details of the movie, but I remember when he starts getting his own ideas, and they're like, no, we have to stick to the script. Of course, they're not telling him this, but it's just they were actually telling him this to stay. But your friends, I also think that whether consciously or unconsciously, they might be envious. It can be misunderstanding or not even understanding what you're doing. And it's how do you explain this? Why do you think that you had these thoughts and not your friends? That would be my question.
Well, that's a good question. Well, I would first say that, well, I do still have my friends. They are my friends, and I don't, they are supportive. Like it's not like they are trying to keep me there, luckily, or else I mean, if they wouldn't be my friends anymore. But yeah, yeah, I have asked that, like, why do I want to travel? Or why do I have the desire and the need to kind of break away and do my own thing, and why do most people, I guess it's most people want to live in comfort and in the comfort zone, and but there's something more to that, there's missing this seed that I think I received during the university, this this change in thinking, something like flipped in my head, and I was like, okay, actually I'm going to this direction. So I think that just hasn't happened to many people. I think maybe I have few friends, maybe it has happened, and they are trying to also kind of get to the position where they can have the freedom to decide where they want to live and do things like that. But yeah, how do you get that? That's the thing. And for me, like I've been many times thinking back my journey and when that exactly happened. And there's like these little things here and there. And like one of the earliest memories I have is when I was in school. Maybe I was like 14. I'm just guessing, something like 14. And there was an assignment to go to the library and pick any book and then read it and write an essay about it, which was very uncommon for an assignment, which I was very excited about because I thought, well, I could finally pick a book I want to read. So I took this seriously. I went to the library and I spent like maybe 2 hours in the library randomly searching for books. It was crazy. I was getting so frustrated by the end of it that I don't know, what do I want to read? And then like I was just on some shelf, and I was like randomly like, it's either gonna be this or this, and I just reading the back cover, and I ended up going home with a book that was about the television, and the whole point of the book was don't watch TV. And after reading that book, I didn't watch TV anymore.
Yeah, that could have been the moment, right? Like it started there. Yeah.
Yeah, that could have been it. Like one of those things that allowed me to break the spell or break away from this this thinking.
Yeah, and now you have these mainstream social media, mainstream search engine. You're locked in. You don't know, even if you have it in you innate, you don't know it. You just need to see it in front of you. And now it's almost impossible even to have this thought and then go actively seek it. Even if you did, you will not be able to find it easily. So this is why I'm not on social media, but I would still go there just for the sake of this, right? To having somebody or to be the person who might open up the eyes of other people, right? Because if I'm not there, there's not gonna be anybody for them, and they're not gonna be
Yeah,
able to find it easily.
and I wish I would have had the kind of the support structure or the society would have provided that to kind of point me to the right direction, but there was no support like that. And like when I read that book when I was this young boy, I remember thinking like, I just wish there were more books like this. I wish I could find them, but there was no one for me to ask. There was no one to go to, and yeah, then I kind of went back to my daily routine, which was mostly playing computer games. So I didn't really do anything about it myself either. But that's why I think it's super important that there's this system, which is supposed to be the education system that is recognizing what anyone is interested in, and they are helping them to kind of move to that direction or find auto materials for like, you notice someone likes a book, I'll help them find another book about the same topic or something similar. But that's all is kind of missing, I guess, universally in the whole education system. We can all agree on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I will. So my next question would be, so what kind of, have you had any odd jobs, or you went with this community and that was it, that you've been working with them ever since? You mentioned graphic design, but we didn't learn if you had worked actually as a graphic designer. What other things have you done?
Yeah, so there was this one particular summer, it was a summer job in my university, and I always remember this. So I was working on this waste treatment plant, and I had to be there at 7 a.m. and I think it was like an 8-hour shift or something. But it was long, like 13, 14 kilometers away, and there was no public transport going there. So my choices were either car or a bicycle, and I certainly didn't have a car and didn't want to spend money on a car. So I took a bicycle ride every day, twice, this 10 plus kilometers, and I had to wake up like 5 a.m. I had a very strict morning routine. Like I have 15 minutes to do whatever I need to do. I need to leave, so I'm on time. And then I would get back, and I had to take a nap because I was so tired. Because there was also some physical labor, not that physical, but still. And then I had this freelance graphic design thing that I was kind of trying to do. So I had one guy paying me $10 an hour to do some amateur graphic work on a few things. So then in the evening, I had these deadlines for this graphic work. So then I would work even to like 10 p.m. trying to finish stuff and thinking like, well, I really need to go to sleep, else I'm going to be totally wrecked tomorrow into work. So I was living like this for one summer, basically working 2 jobs and then bicycling back and forth. So I think that's, yeah, I remember that, but I was really embracing that because it was like also I was challenging myself. I was like, I'm going after my dream. Like I have this dream, I need to work hard. Like I need to do this. Like if I just make some excuses that I'm too tired and just get a beer and watch TV after work, like most people do, then you're not gonna get anywhere. So you need to actually, especially when you are starting from zero, which I was pretty much. I recognized I was pretty much at the start square, even though I was getting these fancy papers, but like I said, like I had no practical skills. The theoretical skills were very like not that great. No one hires you basically because of the paper. Like you do need some work experience, or then you need the people skills to get the work, which I didn't really have the people skills, and any other skills that I would need to get hired. So I was kind of in a hard position in a way there at that time. Now I forgot the original question, but I hope I answered it.
Yeah, it was about the odd jobs you've done.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the dream. I'm not going to ask you about the dream yet. I guess we leave it to later. But when did you stop doing these things? And what you had in mind, at least at the time, is to make the money enough to buy you that whatever dream or the first door or step toward this dream?
Yeah, but the dream was to travel around the world and be a digital nomad. That was the vision. And I was just trying to earn any money I could to save it so that I could, yeah, travel, have some budget. So I was, yeah, not spending too much money. I was very careful on not to spend anything extra. Like I couldn't really afford to, like maybe I went for a bar like once a month, had some beers. But yeah, I didn't have too much money. I was basically in debt. I had some student debt, not too much, nothing compared to US because I was in Finland. In Finland, yeah, it's not the same situation, luckily. But yeah. Did I answer the question? I can have forgot what
Yes,
you
you
asked.
did. Yeah, maybe
Okay,
I had
good.
in mind the dream that maybe, of course, it has changed now, and you have a different dream now. That's what I meant. Okay, yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
because
That you answered the
yeah,
question.
because actually because then I fulfilled the dream like years later when I started to travel. That is then when I no longer had an aim. So I was kind of for years and years I was just traveling and working, and I guess because of the background I became a workaholic. So I was working way too much and not taking proper care of myself. So that was the issue I had, especially now looking back. But also that I had no next thing. I didn't know what to do next. I was again thinking like one day I will discover what my true purpose here is, but I just didn't know. So I was just kind of waiting, and I was kind of in a tunnel vision, just doing things, and lived like that until the COVID came, around the COVID time. That's really shook my lifestyle of not being able to travel that easily. I was still traveling though, doing some travel, even though there was a COVID. But yeah, then I realized actually I need some place, and that's how I came to Bulgaria, that to kind of set up myself. And then I found about autonomy, and like okay, like it's finally time. I'm in crossroads in life. There's something new coming for me. So let me figure out what my purpose is.
So before we move on fully to where you're headed, I want to talk to you a little bit more about community management and some of your experience in that, and what has that told you? Do you feel like that's representative of the population at large? Like you had said in a meeting that we were in that you find, that there's X% in the community that are lurkers or they're just observers. There's X% of people that are active participants. And then there's another smaller percentage that will be like what we refer to as a troll, or sort of a naysayer, a negative type personality. And I found that really interesting. And so I wanted to ask you a little bit more about, just things that you observed from community management, but also how did that really come to you of like, yes, I want to be a community manager. It was something for me when we were talking about that, or when you were talking about it in the meeting, it never occurred to me. I mean, I know that there must be a need. It seems so obvious to me now, but at that time I was like, I I never thought about that. So I was very curious, and I feel like it's applicable in your entrepreneur journey because I feel from what you have said that it was very, educational for you, and maybe even foundational with where you're going. So can we talk a little more about that?
For sure. I think that the whole field of community building and community management is relatively new and unknown. Like it's not new, but it's a new as a profession. And a lot of people don't really know about it or understand it. And there's also this, from what I have read in bigger businesses, there's also this conflict of like having a community. Why is it there? What are you doing as a community manager? And a lot of maybe the leadership executive team in these businesses don't fully understand the role of a community manager and these type of things. But yeah, I guess like communities that I'm sure Lee knows about, as you are involved in from Linux communities, from what I understand. But I think that's kind of the starting point, as far as I know, of like these open source communities, people coming together, let's create open source software. And that's how I kind of got started, but it took some time for it to get recognized as a field and as a profession, and then as something that actual businesses want. Like on the side of like we have social media management, and then we have community management. So then there was this boom where a lot of businesses were looking like, how can we launch our own community? Because it's the basic promise is that you are able to turn your customers into loyal supporters who are part of your brand, and they're like your brand ambassadors or something. Like they are there to defend you on social media because they are your community members, and they are there to spread the message. They are there to talk about your product and all this cool stuff. So I guess whenever like executive team here, it makes sense. Like, yes, let's do this. Let's hire a team. Let's hire a community manager. Let's put some resources here. But then it's not really the same as marketing or social media management. Like the metrics and the tactics and everything is kind of different. And then your second question was about the 1% rule. So there's one. It also called 99 and 1% rule, or just 1% rule. And it just basically states that across most or all communities, there's 90% of people who are just there to lurk. So they just follow the conversation, but they never say anything. They just kind of casually observe. Then there's about 9% of people who actually talk and engage and do something, like a little bit like say hello and so on. And then there's only 1% of people who actually take like more an active role as a contributor. So let's say if you have a community of 100 people, then you can expect that one of them is like they're actively contributing and trying to support and build the community, and 9 of them are there kind of casually chit chat, let's talk, and then the rest are there kind of seems like they are not there at all. so that I think that's really good to understand when you're building a community, because you could first think there's something wrong, but it's just well, there's so much noise in the world, like there's so many things to do. So even though like I guess we can all recognize that we are part of some communities where we are just more like lurkers, so we just stay, sometimes go there to check it out, but we don't really engage or do anything or talk to the other members.
Yeah, I find that that was very fascinating for me to figure out. So then what else did you learn from being a community manager and trying to cultivate that community? I mean, do you feel like the things that you've learned are also applicable in the real world to the autonomy community, for example, or to people in general?
Yeah, after joining autonomy, when I started to think about my purpose, and at this point I was kind of thinking like, is community building, like, is this my path? Because I wasn't sure if I want to continue on this path or find something else. But I kind of came to realize just how important it is to find ways to bring people together, which is what community is about. Like there's this void in the world, especially because of like social media and all these digital devices we are on. Like people are feeling alone, and then there's this real need for communities. And I guess the best would be to have an in-person community and people you can actually talk to. But I guess the second best thing is if you're able to have this experience online and have real bonding between people, like what is happening in autonomy community. So just realizing the importance of that, and I think that made me then see it in different light and see it as something like, maybe I just throw a few other things into this mix and let's see what this could turn into. And I guess I'm still figuring that side out. Yeah, so that, yeah, did I understand? Did I answer the question?
Yeah, you definitely
Yeah.
did. And so that, and one more thing that I want to maybe get a little more information on is, so tell us about your role in the autonomy community, because you're very active in the guides program. You're always there. You really care about the forum, which is the way that all of us connect with each other. And, some days I'm listening to you on the guides calls and I'm like, I'm just so impressed. I'm I'm touched because of how much you care. It's just so obvious that you want to make it better. You care about people. You want to make their experience better, the community better, stronger. So that's something that I really have been, you well, I already said it, but very impressed with. And it is touching to me how much you care, and it's very obvious. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about your role in that? What is your role in the Autonomy Community Forum? What is your goal for that?
Hmm. Well, first, thank you for saying that. It means a lot. So yeah, I'm just a guide. Like I have no special place. I'm just like everyone else in the in the autonomy community, normal member. But I have talked to Leah in these guided meetings we have that I have some ideas on how we could improve the forum and get more ideas and feedback from the community. And I've been presenting some of the ideas in the meeting, and actually now we agreed that we are gonna go ahead with the first step, which is gonna be slight reorganization of the structure of the channel, so it's more easy to find things, easy to understand the structure and where to post and what the different categories and groups are about. So that's what I'm working on right now, and yeah, I was given the admin privileges to manage or do these changes, whatever needs to be done on the forum side. So I'm able to do those as a contribution. So that's kind of my role. So I'm just looking what else can I do to support the autonomy community, and I've kind of put myself out there or told the other members that if there's any ideas or feedback, they can always let me know about it, so I can combine everything, so I can be that point of contact and a bridge between then the rest of the autonomy team and the guides about those things. And I see there's so much potential in the autonomy community, and that it's really going somewhere. And I think maybe autonomy community is one of those communities who's breaking the 1% rule, and there's actually tons more contributors than there should be according to this rule. So and that tells you something like there's so much power in the community, and the question is that we just have to come together and like how can we get even better organized? How can we help each other? Because that's what the community in my mind really is about. Like it's not that you are just passively waiting something to happen, or for you are demanding someone to do something, but you're also just coming to the other members and say, hey, like I have an idea. Why don't we do this thing and give it a try? And then so community is a lot of times a lot of organic things happening, a lot of ideas, and that's what is at its best in my opinion. And that's also what the community manager and the structure should be encouraging. Like how can we empower the members to collaborate and work together and do things and build things. So it's kind of the community is taking a life of its own.
Yeah, that's really lovely, Otto. And I really think that your work is appreciated in the community, and I do hope that Autonomy is the community that will be breaking that rule. So before we move on, I wanted to touch base with Rawad, Lee. Do you guys have anything that you want to ask before we move into to really where Otto is headed next? All right, great. So the moment we've all been waiting for, why don't we talk about your entrepreneurial journey as far as where are you headed next? Where do you feel like you are in your journey? You had posted pretty recently that you had been accumulating this experience and you had been thinking about what you wanted to do, what your next step was, and you felt like it was entrepreneurship. So why don't you talk to us about what what is that decision? What does that mean for you?
Well, think of where to start, but I guess I first start with the challenges I'm referring back to, that I was kind of a workaholic, so I've been working a lot. And I think last year, especially in the springtime, as I was kind of a lot of energy, I was coming as a graduate, going after this entrepreneurial journey. But then I guess also realized that maybe I also need to, I was trying to move too fast. I was trying to do too many things at the same time. And it actually takes surprising amount of work to do, well, anything. Everything takes a lot of effort, and you're always underestimating the amount of work. So I've been mostly just trying to like do the groundwork. And right now I'm focused on self-care. So everything is on hold for me regarding these projects on purpose. Like I'm gonna start them again in 1 month from now. But I just figured that this is time I'm just trying to load my own batteries, take care of myself, so that I can actually execute and do things for the rest of the year. And I'm trying to find this rhythm for my own life. So that's what I'm working on right now, is the self-care aspect. And yeah, then I guess also this past year has given me some chance to think about how to approach launching a business. So I have had some ideas, insights, and I made some research and done some procrastination and posted some of that stuff at the forum that I think me and Ruvad were also talking about. And I think it's all been good. Like I think it's the way I view it, because this is not just something I'm launching as a side hobby, but this is something I'm making a commitment to for I don't know, the next decade. So when you're doing something that's gonna be, or perhaps the rest of your life, so maybe it makes sense to take the time it needed to be sure that you are doing what you need to be doing, that you are doing the right thing, focusing on the right thing, and you are doing it properly from the ground up. If you just have the time and resources and the position and the luxury to be able to do that, which, well, I have, because, well, I'm working, so I don't need immediately try to start generating money, so I can go the long route and not worry too much about making money immediately. But I'm just thinking more like long-term horizon, years ahead, like what should really be the focus of like this year. And for me, the conclusion now is that I'm just really want to focus on building an audience, and that's where I'm gonna start. And that's why I have all this fancy setup with this camera and the lights, and I started a YouTube channel, and I'm trying to train myself to talk to camera and be more lively, break away from my shell in that sense. And then I'm gonna be launching another channel for this business, and right now I'm trying to figure out what does the production pipeline look for me when I produce videos, so that I can start to crank them up on a regular basis, and that people would actually watch them too, which is pretty important, or else you don't grow the audience. So that's what I see as the next step. And then on the excuse me, I need water. But then on the autonomy side, I'm also doing things constantly. Like I'm working with the community to enhance my own skills, but I have prepared a course about community building that I'm looking to present exclusively to the autonomy community. And that's also, again, to get more experience, to get feedback, to get ideas, to better understand what to be going into this type of a course. So I'm looking to do that this spring, fingers crossed, because I was supposed to be launching this last year multiple times, but I think I'm now in a position to finally do it. So look forward to announcement about that if you are in the autonomy community. So those two things are, I guess, the main two things I'm focused on this year. And also maybe third thing, I would say that I'm looking for people who are looking to launch a community and then looking to help them to do that so that I can gain the experience about that thing, because I have very narrow experience. I have like knowledge, I have read books, I have a lot of ideas, but I need some practical way to implement some of those ideas, and that's really the only way to really learn. Like you can only learn so much from a book. Um, so those three things I think are the most important for me as I'm now thinking of like how to get started this business.
Okay, so just to clarify or reiterate, what your business is going to be is that consulting on community building essentially? So you're offering the course within autonomy, you're working on creating your asset and offering it to the market, and you want to be able to offer that widely to help other people to start to build their own community. So almost like a consultant in a way. Is that fair to say that's what the business would
Yeah.
be?
Yeah, I'm trying to become more in a position to see as a consultant. And I'm seeing this whole thing as a funnel. So I guess at the top we have the YouTube and building this audience, this free content I'm putting out there. And from there, they would buy my course. Maybe I have some free course there at some point, but then there's this course. They take the course, they learn the basics, and they can get started. But then at the very bottom, it's me personally as the consultant. So then the course itself is like a funnel that is funneling clients to me. So someone takes my course and then they want some of my help, then they can also hire me.
Yeah. Amazing. I love that. So it's taking all of your experience that you have worked really hard on over these last many years and culminating in this consultant role, but really helping people to do something more meaningful, which is build their community. Um, I really love that, and I'm excited to see your work. So, Lee, Rawat, do you guys have questions in that regard?
Yeah, actually. So, Otto, you write some really good stuff, and I'm sorry, because of some issues with my brain, I can't remember the exact subject you wrote upon last time, but I was very enthusiastic about it. Are you going to write some more and post those up somewhere? Because what you have to say is really good, and you really do leave people wanting to hear more, because the ideas you have and how you share them are so good. So are you gonna produce more, please?
Thank you for saying that. And yeah, I don't remember either, like what did I write last time. I do remember the one post that where me and Reward were discussing with us about something like having focus, because I think this is the, and I guess my advice, even though I'm not really like haven't really gone through this journey yet, but just by watching other people, other entrepreneurs, and what they are saying and what I have learned, and it just kind of makes sense to me. It's just you need to have focus, like ultimate focus. And I'm just thinking, I'm always asking myself, am I focused enough? Like, should am I still spread too thin? And I guess this could be looked for multiple levels. Like, who are you trying to target? Like, who are you talking to? Like, who's your audience? Like, maybe you need to niche it down further. Like, even in university time, when I was writing my thesis, I thought I made it very specific, but the professor was, no, this is way too general. Like, you need to make it even more specific. So I think this is a lot of times for starting entrepreneur, the same thing that we think we have very specific target audience and target market and everything, but then actually it's not specific enough. So I'm asking myself, do I have that? And I think I don't have that yet, specific enough. But I do think I have the next steps that I need to do to figure that thing out, which is the most important thing, because I think we all no matter if you're an entrepreneur or not, we always know our next step. And we can always take the next step. And if we take the next step, then we learn about what's beyond that. And that's where the growth happens. So it's all about taking the next step. And yeah, so then I guess in this area of focus in this one post at least, I was referring to this one video where was talked about that you just focus on like one audience with one product using one marketing channel. So you're like one avatar, one product, and so on. So and the point was that there's so much, like let's say YouTube, like I'm doing YouTube. So there's so many people on YouTube. Like there's no need for me to diversify into Twitter or Facebook. Like that's gonna be just noise. Like I don't have time for that. I'm just one person. I don't have the bandwidth to learn all these platforms. I need to pick one, become excellent at that platform, and that has enough people for me to reach to be able to sell my services. And this, I think this video, he said, like once you make like 1 million revenue per year, then you can consider to expand to another channel. And that's how you scale your business. So that sounds quite a bit, but I guess it makes good rule, or like it's a good principle. Yeah, now I lost my train of thought, but basically that's what I'm trying to think of, like just focusing on one thing and getting good at that, and not distracting myself with too many other things. And yeah, the one other thing on the video was that as an entrepreneur, when you launch a product, it's not going to be good, and you need to iterate on it. So that's another thing. So you might be able to get paying customers, but then if you start to expand to all these other channels, then you're gonna just the business gonna self-destruct from inside out because your product was not good enough in the first place. So you need to just spend a lot of time to polish the whole product before you really expand also. So it's going through cycles of iteration, which is a good principle is from the software world, the agile methodologies of how the people are trying to very quickly iterate on the software instead of use the waterfall method, where they ship like a complete product and then they think that it's gonna be the best and it's gonna sell. But in this case, you just launch something quickly, which I'm doing with autonomy communities. I'm using the community as a way for me to put my initial product out there, get feedback, then iterate on it. And I will do several iterations until I then actually put it to the real market and put some price tag to it. But then I keep doing it. I keep improving the product. So that's what I'm planning to do. And then once I have a good product, I have an audience, and I'm making sales, then at that point I should be able to scale up and hire someone in theory. And then once there's more hands working on this thing, then we can expand to, like, I don't know, Twitter.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great coverage of everything, and really does come back to how you are going to continue to put stuff out there for people to be able to interact with. And I think that's exciting, and I'm personally looking forward to it. And I think anyone else who gets a chance to interact with anything that you put out into the world will feel the same way. Thank you.
Rawad, do you have anything before we move on?
Not at the moment. Thank you.
Okay. So this is a question that has come up in our episodes, Otto, before, but I think it's a worthwhile question to ask everyone. So what is your definition of success? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, it's another thing. I guess it goes back to the setting goals and how to set goals, which is another thing I've been trying to figure out. So, and right now the best method I have heard is that you don't focus on the outcome goals, but you focus on the goals that you can control. So I can set a goal that, let's say, I upload a YouTube video every Friday. So that could be my goal. And then the whatever views or likes or whatever else is just that's out of my own control. Like I cannot set a goal that in 6 months I want to have like 1,000 subscribers, because I might not have. And so it doesn't make sense to set those type of goals. So success looks like, I guess, like upload frequently every week, and then every video make it better, something like that. So that is what success looks like, and then it takes however long it takes to get to those 1,000 subscribers. Like if I have a lot to learn, it will take longer, but for some other person, it might take shorter time because we are all different. I have a different path I need to go through. So yeah, so I think yeah, focusing on things that are in your control is the best. And I like to do daily goals and weekly goals and things like that are like immediately in the future that I have control over, rather than a long distance long-term goals. I'm more like talking about vision and what I want to see happen, where I want to be, what I want to build in the long term, but it's not so specific because I don't know what I don't know. I will learn as I go.
The goals are, well, goal setting seems like it's really important to your path to success. And then once you set a goal, showing up for yourself, being committed to making that goal happen. And that is your definition of success. And I really like that, because I definitely think that we can have a tendency to be hard on ourselves if we're not, getting thousands of subscribers or, monetizing this, that, or the other thing. So I really like your approach. And I think that that's something that I hope everyone, including myself, can learn from, is that it's important when you set the goals when you're consistent and you're meeting your goals, to be proud of the work that you've done in your consistency and doing your best and trying to improve. I really like that. And I think that is important. So one other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, speaking of goals, I would like for you to talk a little bit about what you do in the community with your new moon intention setting workshop. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
For sure. It is related to setting goals. As this was something I was trying to figure out from a personal life, like how do I create a powerful vision and long-term goals for myself. And I've been over the several years, even before autonomy, I kind of started on this journey to try to build a system that I would use that would help me. And I have been trying multiple things, and I went from, like, I had a Notion, I was using Notion, and it was complex, like a lot of stuff, kind of over-engineered thing, which was working for me for like maybe even up to 6 months. I was quite happy about it. And I was making tons of progress, but then it started to feel too cumbersome, like too heavy. So I wanted to simplify it. And at the same time, I was interested about the ancient civilizations and ancient history, ancient people, and about the moon and the moon phases and all those sort of things like this. And then the two things kind of were combined. I just had the idea that a lot of people set new moon intentions. I'm sure about that. That's nothing new. So, but I was just kind of, yeah, that actually makes sense, because I didn't really like the calendar month that we use for every day, like the Gregorian calendar. like it doesn't seem that great. Like the weeks end and start kind of randomly, and months are different length, and I don't know. That was just felt too artificial, too random. Like it was, and also like when I look at the history of the calendar, it's not really based on nature or things like that. So then on the other hand, I learned about the moon calendar, which is based on natural cycles of moon and things like that. So then I just started to create a system where I would do my planning around the moon calendar and the moon phases, and I just found that to be like motivating, and I just did a system where every new moon I set the intentions. I rank 5 things I want to get done, or 5 things I'm focusing on, and I'm mostly journaling about them. And sometimes they can be quite vague. I don't really care if they are that exact. I'm not a fan of SMART goals. I think even on a monthly level, SMART goals are impossible when it comes to our personal life. And I think they are certainly impossible when it comes to thinking like 1 year ahead. Unless we are doing something for the second time, because otherwise we don't know where we're going. So how can we set a specific goal that is time bound? Like I think it just doesn't work. So in our life, like it might work in a business environment where business is executing the same thing over and over again, and there's a lot of knowledge. But anyway, so yeah, so I would make these intentions on a new moon, and then I would have the moon month split to 4 weeks, always 4 weeks, 7 days each. And then that would give me solid same blocks of time that are the same length. And I would kind of make a plan for the week at the start of the week. The last day I would take off, I would just take some rest. And each day I set daily goals. And then these daily goals are SMART goals because they are very specific and time bound and so on. And the daily goals are kind of tied back to the intention. And I think it's very simple. Like that's it. Anyone can do that on paper and pencil. But I think the power there is that normally when you set the intention, you just do it and you forget it. But in this case, I'm daily basis or in multiple days times a day, I'm looking back at my plans. So I'm looking back at my intention. If not on with my conscious mind, my subconscious mind connects me immediately. Yes, this is what I'm looking to do. And it's going to make things easier when there's things I need to choose between. And sometimes I don't even remember what the intentions were, but my subconscious mind does. And it does because I keep repeating this information to it every day as I'm making these plans, as I'm reviewing. Especially on the week level, I always review what were my intentions. Am I following through with them? What else could I do? Like what is the most essential thing I should be doing to move forward with these intentions? And so I think that kind of links our mind with subconscious mind in a better way, and things start to happen more in automatic way. And I have had a lot of success personally with that system.
And is that what your coaching session, because you don't just do it for yourself, you help other people do it, right? I mean, you host an event every single month to help other people in autonomy and kind of work through with them on setting their own goals as well, right?
Yeah, the event it's like it has also morphed a few times. Right now it is just a space to come to where we put a timer on, and we all turn off our webcams and microphones, and we create those intentions. And then when we come back, then we have a discussion and we share about our plans for the next month. And sometimes there's other type of casual discussion around these topics. So it's very, very like, yeah, just casual hangout for the most part. And this point in time where like if you're having a busy day and it's kind of hard to slow down and create these intentions, then you do have this event where maybe it's easier to drop by and you are there with other members. So you have that chance to quiet down and think about what you want to do.
Yeah, I really like that. So Lee, Rawad, do you guys have anything else before we move on?
Yeah, I would like to ask, so how does this event, because it's different from the community management, which is your main goal, right? To become a consultant, helping people building communities. How does this, like, how do you choose these activities, the things that you want to focus on? I'm guessing that it's not related to, maybe I'm wrong, the business or financial goals, but it's something else. It's more like the personal area of your life. How do you choose which
Yeah,
things that you're gonna go after?
yeah, that's a good observation. Yeah, it's not related to the business, but it is related to my other purpose or goal is a longer term goal, which again I'm thinking if I'm having too many things I'm trying to do, but I do want to launch my own community as well, and it's gonna be about following the ancient ways of life, finding natural ways to plan, live, and things like that. And I'm just basically making notes about what that could look like. But I very much would like to launch my own community at some point in the future, and bring forward all this wisdom and these things. And I'm trying to understand what works, what doesn't work, what provides value for the people. So these things are also a way for me to validate, like, does this only work for me or does it work for others? And how do I explain it to others? Especially this life planning thing. I think I wasn't able to explain it properly the first time, and I don't think anyone really started to use it. So I have concluded that I actually maybe need to make like an entire course or some sort of thing, like how to properly explain it so people would provide some more support around that thing. But I also have another event I just started, another group in autonomy that I just started. It's a ancient veins accountability, and this is about a more self-care related accountability group. This again is kind of combining what I'm going through in my own life and what I'm trying to focus on with my longer term goals, like launching this community. And yeah, it's kind of that's why I'm doing them for the most part. So yeah, they're not part of the business, but they are part of the longer term, the other projects and the communities and things I want to build at some point.
And
Well,
sorry, go
my
ahead.
apologies. Go ahead. Go ahead,
I lost
Rawad.
my question actually. I was trying to recall it. I lost.
Well, I thought that it tied back in really nicely with some other things that Rawad had suggested that we talk about, which are he always comes up with amazing questions. So I'm trying to get better every time based on the new stuff that we discuss. But why don't we talk about if someone was interested in community building and interested in that experience that you have, how do you become a community manager? What does that look like? If somebody had the goal of, they're inspired, and hopefully they will be by this conversation. Let's talk about that. What does that even look like? Do you have to have the fancy paper, as you called it?
Probably not. Yeah, so I guess there's like two things, like becoming a professional community manager working for another business or launching your own community. Like how to become a professional community builder. Well, there are courses online. There are nowadays there are many choices. There's a lot of resources that you can look to, and you can get the education pretty cheap. I think these courses start from like $500 upwards. But like compared to normal education, I mean that's peanuts, right? So to get started, someone could take a course like that to kind of get the basics. I'm not totally sure what they teach on those courses. I haven't actually taken one. But then I would say the second thing is maybe more important is just to join communities and be part of a community and then become active. And in my opinion, the business should hire a community manager from the community. I don't know how often it happens or if that happens, but if there's a business who would like to have a community manager, then perhaps just look to that 1% who's the most active person, and then ask them, like maybe they're interested and maybe they would like to take that course or learn more about this topic. And because they only know everything, they know the community, they know the business, they know the product, they know other people, which is what community manager is there to build relationships with the other members and help other members to build relationships with other members. But they are kind of, when you are part of a community, you're kind of already half there. And then but I mean that's how I got hired too. Like I was as part of the community.
So if someone wanted to take your path of being a community manager, community building consultant, do you think that is it a requirement that they are a community manager first?
Before becoming a consultant. No, I would imagine that some experience is good, that you do need. I think you do need to have practical experience to be a consultant in any field or in anything, because you cannot learn things just from a book. If you only have theoretical understanding, then, well, I guess a lot of consultants might only have theoretical understanding and they're consultants, but then, like, are you truly be able to be really effective if you haven't been there and done that? And that's why I myself want to find those other entrepreneurs who look at the launcher community, that I can help them to build that so that I can be part of this practical process and understand what really goes into that, because I don't know, I don't have all the knowledge. Like I'm not like I have these gaps that I need to fill. So I think someone who look at being a consultant, then they need to think like, they need the theory, of course. They need the practical, the theoretical understanding, but they need to understand how are they going to get the experience. And they could get the experience by working for others, to working in a business, inside a business. That's one way. But then they could also just offer that for free for people. Like just like I'm looking to, I might not even be charging anything for the autonomy members if someone wants to work with me to launch a community of some sort. Like I don't need the money specifically. I mostly need the experience. And so then just the thing is that in this world, most people are unwilling to take action and do anything unless there's immediate result. And this is what I have seen time and time again, and why a lot of like people stay unemployed, and why they don't pick up the book, because they don't see the immediate result. Like they don't see the dollar figure as the result of it, and because of that, then they don't take action, and they just wait, and they wait for this some sort of perfect opportunity where they want to get hired, but they only want to get hired full time in this perfect career path, but then they are unwilling to put the work in for free. So I think that's like a mindset people need to change. There's nothing wrong making a contribution, helping other people for free or for little money, even if you don't need money, even if you cannot, like, even if that's not enough for you, but that's the way to get started, then that needs to be done.
Yeah,
So that's a
because
really nice process, isn't it? Where you are, so you're talking about investment in yourself, really, at the end of the day, in it, and investment in the process, and also the process itself, which is an eternally growing process, because you're never going to be perfect. So right now you're starting at a certain place in in the process, and you'll constantly be able to invest in the process as you learn it better. Yeah, that's a really great thing that you've just spoken about there. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and to your point, I think we're all used now to getting notifications, like instant gratifications. I post something somewhere and I immediately get likes and comments, and I would expect to see the same results in real life or when in professional life. And then I keep forgetting the questions. The second part, I guess, is never mind. It's gone again.
Okay, well, it'll come back, Rawad,
Yeah.
and just interrupt me if I'm talking whenever it does. But I was gonna say that I very much agree with what Lee is saying, what you're saying, Otto, because the experience that you get is more valuable sometimes than what you would be getting paid. And it's like free training, it's free education in a way, right?
Yeah.
Like an on-the-job type of experience. And for me, that's really the best way that I learn. I am somebody, if I read something, sometimes I struggle, my eyes glaze over, it just doesn't sink in with me. But when I'm doing something and I'm getting hands-on experience, then it really facilitates learning for me personally. So just sometimes getting in there and doing it and under the leadership of others that know, that can guide you and offer correction. And that's really a very valuable way to learn for myself. So I think that you're right in that way. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was as far as your own path, did you, and I know you said you didn't really take a class necessarily, but what did you invest in your education? Did you take other classes that were going to help you with your community building, with consulting? What did that look like for you?
I don't think I did it really like in optimal way, because like I was saying, like I had like little blindfolds on, so I was on a mode of execution and doing things, and so I basically learned everything in practice. I did spend time online, whatever resources I could find, read articles, read here and there, but I never took any bigger courses or things like that. Yeah, but I think that would be like a smart idea to do, um, to pay, especially if someone has the resources, then just pay, even if, let's say, you get hired, and even if your employee doesn't want to pay for that course that costs like $1,000, then I would say you should still pay it from your own pocket, because it's gonna benefit you and make your learning experience so much faster, and it's all about that. In my opinion, it's all about like finding those shortcuts, which like autonomy is one of them, and it's, yeah, it's worth the money. Like it's worth to pay for some stuff. So it's kind of this. I guess maybe I was looking for this opportunity because they cost money, and then like back in the day, and I was just having this limited mindset, that I don't need them, that I can learn, that it's all free online and I can just read about it. But I think, yeah, that's kind of a limiting mindset to have some. So better to just go for it and pay.
Right. So maybe you think that getting the hands-on experience as well as some facilitated education
Mm,
can expedite your process while it's still good to learn on your
yeah.
own, be curious, and pursue supplementary information. But it's almost like combining all of those things will really expedite your path to get where you're going.
Yeah.
Do you feel like
Yeah,
fair?
exactly. Working as you learning, then you are able to work and like use that knowledge you learn in practice, and that's kind of reinforces the learning. But then also maybe a third point would be like, especially talking about community building, then launch your own community, whatever that might be, even if it's some hobby thing, anything. That's another great way. And especially if you are professional community builder, then probably gonna ask you, well, are you running any communities? And if you can say that you have your own community about X and you're doing this and that, then that's gonna help a lot.
Yeah.
Even
Amazing.
if
I
it's
feel
even if it's not like a monetized community, if it's just
right.
even if it's just hobby, like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be an entrepreneur to run a community like this. The world is full of communities, and in a way, everything in the world is a community. We are tribes of people, and we come together naturally.
Yeah. I really like that. I feel just very interested in the entire concept now, and something I really didn't know very much about, which I love that. I love learning about new stuff that was not even on my radar. So, all right. Well, Rawad, Lee, do you guys have anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point about investing in yourself and taking courses. I watched this guy. He made a really interesting point, especially for consultants. And we're going to be talking about price here. Like, how much do you charge? This is the biggest question, right? Because most of the time, we undervalue ourselves, and there are reasons for this. And it can be tied back to how much you invested in yourself, how confident you are. If you don't have the experience, how do you expect to charge whatever per hour, right? So he says you should be spending money, although it might hurt, because this will give you confidence when you come to set the pricing. It's not about the certificate. It's about, hey, I spent this much. If I tell you I spent 100K this year or the last 3 years on myself to get where I'm at now, and I'm offering my expertise and all of these things that I learned that I spent on for $1,000 an hour to help you make whatever number. That makes it a bit different. And to have the confidence to be able to say this, you need to have some baggage, right? So one of them is investing in yourself and spending the money, and then it gives you also the urge that I need to make that money back somehow. I've invested so much in myself because I'm really passionate about this thing, and now I'm offering it to you so you can make more money. And I think Alex Hermosi, he started like that. This is where he didn't take courses on entrepreneurship or on how to launch gyms. Maybe he did afterwards, but he had success, and then he built on that success, and he helped others just using his own experience. You don't have to spend on yourself always, but they do also spend thousands just on educational content, which is to circle back to what you mentioned, the post Lee mentioned was about give the information, provide the information for free, and then sell the implementation. Mm-hmm. Right? So yeah, you might have spent hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands. You can still offer them for free, but when you get that client, you will be able to sell yourself at a higher price. Just that.
Yeah, totally.
That's funny. This kind of reminded me of something with the community stuff as well. So in the past, I have done managerial stuff for radio stations on the internet. And what's really interesting is I didn't think about it until tonight when you started speaking earlier, that it was kind of like an open source project in itself, like an open source internet radio station. And it's also a community because we had listeners who would also come into the chat room and chat. We had DJs who would come. We had, the guy who owned the station, and we had some other people as well who did their bits. And it was really nice being the focal point of all of that. That was me, and as the manager. But really, it was more like community building and bringing people together and fitting together the right people in the right ways, and setting up processes to ensure high quality for the music, high quality for the listeners, and all of these other things that would come together to create a really good atmosphere. When I left, people were like, we really get, you know, please come back. There were a lot of people who were like, please come back. So you know, that's the sort of powerful process that as you were talking not too long ago, I was realizing that's a really wonderful, powerful process to build up that sort of energy. And yeah, I remember the feeling of all of that. So, you know, yeah, I think what you're offering is wonderful, because you know, I can see how that would be really overwhelming for a lot of people who haven't had a chance, don't have a clue, but that's exactly what they want to do. They've got some great ideas, like you were talking about ancient ways. You know, there's going to be a lot of people out there who have been waking up in the last 4 years to various things going on in the world, and they don't want to go along with that. So yeah, I think what you're offering is really important. And how you're going to work with people and attract people to you is going to be quite a boon, not just for yourself, but for the people who actually learn the processes from you. So yeah, it was really good to just have that memory and bring it up in parallel to what you were just talking about, because it really does make all the difference for everyone involved. And when it, you know, people do it right, and I don't mean like, oh, they follow the rules. That's not what I mean by they do it right. You know, when people have the right kind of mutual kind of energy and understanding, yeah, it becomes a really positive process. So I'm really excited for what you're going to be doing in the future, and what you're doing now as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So, what I wanted to ask next is, what advice would you give someone who was looking for, we've talked a little bit about the community building aspect of it. If that was the path, if you put them onto this by this conversation, which would be amazing. But and you said, like, invest in your education, try to get some work experience, try to build your own community, get involved in a community. Um, all wonderful advice. Now, as someone who is on your own entrepreneurial journey, what advice would you give to others that are interested in starting their own project, their own business and being an entrepreneur?
I guess, well, at least for me personally, just having a purpose is really important for me. I have come to understand that I'm not sure if that's unique to me, because I did this through some tests, personality tests, and this was just came to me like, this is like one of my highest values, that I'm aligned with my purpose. But I still think that everyone needs to have a clear purpose, and when you're an entrepreneur, you just need to understand that you kind of feel that this is what you need to do, that is in alignment with your values and who you are, and it all kind of comes together and you feel strongly about it. So I think the biggest mistake is to just launch some business, or trying to launch a business because you're thinking that you will be making money out of it, or that it's just a great business opportunity. Because I guess the biggest reason for failure is to give up, and we all want to give up at one point, and we do give up if it's not aligned with our purpose and values and what we truly want. So yeah, I would say that's.
Yeah, okay. I really like that a lot. Now, something that I have struggled with myself is finding purpose. I feel like I have found some things that I may have a strength in a certain area, but finding purpose, that is a a pretty significant thing, I think. And I know that there is not a one-stop shop formula for that, but what guidance would you offer someone who's looking for their purpose, if any?
Yeah, I have some. Yeah, I think first of all, it might take time before the purpose reveals itself. So I don't think like a 20-year-old or 15-year-old have any chance to understand what their life purpose is. And maybe I don't even fully know yet what my life purpose is, but I know kind of I have a sense of it right now. So I think the best thing is that someone has a desire about something, or this care, like that's the first thing to understand. Like, what do you care about? And so let's say you care about freedom and you care about being independent and traveling the world. Like what's my case? Like that's how I started. I realized these are the things that I care and value about. And then it was much later when all the pieces started to come together, that I started to realize that my purpose is somewhere here, and I might still not have it like 100%. It might still change, and that's all right. But my advice is to follow the inner kind of guidance that I think we all have. We have that voice when we slow down, and we always know what to do next. And if we just keep listening to that voice, and we keep doing that thing that we need to do next, then there's the next thing, next thing, next thing. And eventually you will get to a point which is like on top of a hill or a mountain where you can see a bit further away, and you can see, hey, actually my purpose is somewhere there. And this voice, this guiding voice inside of us is usually telling us something very uncomfortable that we don't want to do. And that's when we get stuck, when we start to ignore that voice. So, and I guess in many like normal cases, this voice might be saying that we're in a bad relationship, but we don't want to get off because it's so comfortable or something like that. Or it might be that you're really miserable at work, you're not thriving, but you're still there because you just want the paycheck. And so it's always telling something a bit uncomfortable, that to take the action, you need to go outside of your comfort zone. So just understanding that, and then always following that voice and going outside of the comfort zone, then eventually you will grow as a person. And when you have grown enough, then the life purpose starts to reveal itself.
It's really lovely. I like that. I think that's very good guidance. And I think the other message that I would take from that is try to get outside of your comfort zone. Try to make yourself do some things that you are interested in, or that you are tasked to do, but you may not want to do them for whatever reason. Like when you get some hesitancy or procrastination or that kind of thing, that moving through that is going to be really helpful for you. Yeah. All right, great. Well, I feel like we have covered a lot of ground about your perspective, about your experience, where you would like to go. So, do you have anything else for us, Otto? What can we expect next? What is the next step in your journey?
Well, you can find me at YouTube at Otto Viktor. That's my name, I think, /@Otto Viktor. So you can expect to see more videos. I'm probably gonna be making a goal soon for the rest of the year to start uploading more regularly, and looking to create a channel about my business and upload those videos, and then within autonomy launch that community building course that everyone is very welcome to join in and learn more about. So those things for sure.
Wonderful. Okay. And before we wrap up, Rawad, Lee, any final thoughts?
Just want to say it was really great hearing about your personal journey in particular. because having lived now for 14 years in Finland has been quite an interesting adventure, and trying to explain to people what it's like being in the Finnish society has been really difficult. So I'm really glad that you were able to explain some of what I've experienced here, and also why it makes you such a remarkable person. Because when you grow up in a society that's a closed society, you know, you don't get a chance to see outside very much or at all. For example, the town I live in, everybody who was born with their friends and family around them, they don't go outside of that. So it's very difficult to make friends here if you're an outsider, and not even a foreigner. I met another Finnish lady. I met a Finnish lady who has lived here for 30 years and has one friend. So, you know, it was a really interesting situation. So it was great to hear your journey, hear your specific situation, and hear how you broke out of that and have lived an unconventional life. And it's definitely a real inspiration. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
One question. I don't know if it was asked. I walked out for a few minutes. What is the most ethically questionable thing you had to face when you are, as you are building and maybe dealing with others as well, when it comes to business, marketing, or any aspect of the business?
Yeah, I haven't luckily had to deal with any hard choices like that, and maybe that's why I have been so comfortable and kind of been in this, like I explained, I was in this kind of stagnation mode as I was kind of traveling around the world and nothing was really happening because kind of life was good. There was no major issues, like everything was working out more or less. So maybe if there had been some more turbulence and ethical choices that I had to make, maybe I would have taken action sooner. So who knows? But yeah, nothing really comes to my mind right now about that.
Okay.
All right, wonderful. Well, we will definitely link to your channel in our show notes. And I just want to thank you so much for your time today, Otto. I have really enjoyed the conversation, hearing about your journey, and I'm very excited for you to see where your new venture goes. And I'm happy that I'm going to be in a community with you, so I will be able to easily keep track of that. So, on
Okay.
behalf of, oh, my apologies. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that thank you for having me here. It was a great conversation, and thank you for the opportunity and this platform to tell my story.
Definitely. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And then on behalf of myself and the other entrepreneurs, we thank you so much for joining in and tuning into our show. We really appreciate it. And please stay tuned for more episodes showcasing people on their entrepreneurial journey. Thank you.